Hello, Kayosho here. It is currently 5:16 a.m., Wednesday, August 1st. I should be sleeping, but I'm not. And I thought I would start to document this project of mine. I don't usually document things too well, so I thought I'd try a different way, like sort of an audio vlog, I guess you would say. Even though there's going to be videos, there's probably not going to be a whole lot of actual video footage, at least not till later. But there will be slideshows and stuff. So, yeah, what this is about is obviously from the title. I'm building a MAME cabinet. And I'm doing it really, really cheaply because I don't really have much money. So, yeah, the first thing I needed to get my hands on was a monitor. Now, I have some widescreen LCDs, and there's a whole debate as far as using an LCD versus using a CRT, and if you're going to use a CRT, do you want to use like just a typical TV? Do you want to use a computer CRT? Do you want to use an arcade CRT, which is the ideal thing? Well, I'm just going with an LCD. That way it's lightweight, it's small, and it's easy to use. So, obviously, the size of the monitor depends on what size of arcade I'm building. Now, for this first one, I'm going to be doing a tabletop one, or a Bartop, which means it's small enough to just sit on a counter, or a bar, or a table, and play it on there. So, I had these screens, but I didn't want a widescreen. Now, if I wanted to play certain games like Pac-Man, that if you rotate a 16:9 screen vertically, it would work quite well for those old games with those sort of vertical screens. But for the majority of stuff I'm going to play are 4:3, and I hate stretched images. I hate it when a game or a movie or anything is stretched from 4:3 into 16:9. And I also hate black bars on the sides if you play a 4:3 game on a 16:9 monitor and don't have it stretched. Both those things really annoy me. So I really wanted a 4:3 monitor, and this monitor here is what I got. It is actually, well, it was my sister's. And what I had to do, which actually I don't really care about now that I think of it, I traded her one of my newer monitors, a 18.5-inch widescreen, I think it was Acer brand monitor, for this older, I don't even know what brand it is. I can't really see the image very well. It's like X2 Gen. Is that even a brand? I don't know. Anyways, I think might be a 17-inch. I think it's a 17-inch. But it's 4:3. It's older, but the picture's decent. So it's exactly what I need. So I'm happy with that. Now for the computer, I'm basically using my old computer that I'm basically the one I was using before the one I'm using now. It's a Core 2 Duo E4300. It's got basically two 1.8 gigahertz CPUs. It's got 2 gigabytes of RAM. It's got a GeForce 7900 GS. So in general, it's a decent computer for a MAME cabinet. I mean, yeah, there's people that put a lot of money into them and put in a top-of-the-line machine, but that's not an option for me. Besides, a lot of people actually use even older computers than this. It really depends on what kind of games you want to emulate through MAME. More recent stuff, more graphically intensive stuff is obviously going to require a faster computer. So this computer will be perfect. Now, one issue I ran into and solved, but when I do projects, I always just figure out some way to do something and deal with the consequences later. So when I built the computer I'm on now, I took the power switch and LEDs and stuff from my old computer's case for the new computer. And so these that you see here, I had to find out of one of my even older computer cases. And yeah, it took me a while to find one that actually still had some in it, because I'm always cannibalizing stuff. I'm always taking stuff from something else, and I always reuse stuff. I don't typically, buy new parts if I can help it. So that was a little bit of a thing to actually find the cords to do it. If I had to, I probably could have soldered to the motherboard, because it's all it is a tact switch that goes between 2 points on the motherboard that, you touch them together and that turns the computer on. That's what I needed the most. I don't care about the hard drive light in a MAME cabinet. I'm not going to be seeing the hard drive light, so that doesn't matter. So, yeah, I just need to be able to turn it on, so I can do that now. Then I remembered one of the reasons why I stopped using the hard drives in that computer. One of the hard drives is pretty much dead. It's not entirely dead, but it's on its last legs. It's clicking. It just sounds terrible, and it's really slow. So yeah, it's almost dead. But I wasn't sure about the other one that's in it. See, they're IDE hard drives, and my new computer runs completely on SATA. There's no IDE ports. So I had to do some tests on it, and the 160 gigabyte hard drive that's in there, it was good, but the other one wasn't. So that means, well, the other one, the 60 gigabyte, was the one that I had Windows installed on. So I had to either clone Windows from that partition or just install a new copy of Windows. So I went with the second option because it would be easier to just have a completely clean system with no crap to delete or get rid of. So I spent, I don't know how much time figuring out for like the third time in the last 5 years of how to install do an installation of Windows without a disk drive. Well, the thing is that computer actually has a disk drive, but I didn't have any disks to burn, so I haven't had disks in a long time now. So I had to do that. So I finally got it working. As you can see in this picture, it's a very blurry picture. All these pictures were taken with my phone. They kind of look like crap. But yeah, Windows is up and running. I'm still working on sound card problems. It's got an integrated sound card, and it's one of these HD audio, Realtek, or maybe it's not even Realtek. It could be VIA. I don't know. It's one of those cards that you have to find the exact driver, otherwise it's not going to work. You might find some that say they work for it, but then they won't. So it'll take me a little while to play around to figure out one that actually functions. I probably have the original disc with the original sound drivers on it somewhere. I just don't know where. So I'll just try a couple different drivers till I find one that works. So I'm not sure how much money I'm going to have to be able to spend on this. I've already got some plexiglass that I'm planning to use for the, I guess you would call it the bezel. I don't know. To go over the screen and the very front portion of the cabinet. I need to get a joystick and buttons, all the buttons basically. I might not. It depends on how much my electricity bill is this month, because I live on my own and I don't have a lot of money, and the electricity bill this last month was pretty high. So if it's equally as high, which it probably is, I'm not going to be able to get both the joystick and the buttons. I think what I'm going to have to do for now is get the joystick and then get the buttons later. And in the meantime, I will just make some buttons. I've got tact switches, which I've used in like my portables and stuff before. So it's not going to be preferable because I want big buttons, even just for testing to trying games out. So what I'm going to do is, you can see in this picture here, I have several colors of bottle caps from Coke bottles, actually. So I'm going to turn those into really terrible arcade buttons temporarily. And unless I find out my electricity bill isn't that high, then I can spend the money. But at first, I'm just going to get the joystick, I think. And then we'll go from there. I totally forgot something, so I'm just going to kind of splice this in here. So, I didn't mention what controller board I'm going to use for actually connecting the buttons and joystick to the computer. There's several options for that. Some people will take a computer keyboard and actually hardwire to the individual keys of a keyboard. That is really hard, especially when most of these keyboards these days are membrane keyboards. So you'd have to wire to the actual chip, or yeah, probably. So that'd be some tiny soldering. That's not something I'd be willing to try. Another option, you could get these pads, these boards that are made specifically for people that make MAME cabinets. They're USB or PS2, and they just got a whole bunch of stuff, places to plug in, your buttons and joysticks. Well, I might get one of those before the end of this project, but for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cannibalize this USB gamepad I have. It's Saytech, or is it pronounced Saytech or Cytec? That brand? I don't know. It's a P220. There's a picture of it there. I've had this gamepad for several years. It was a pretty cheap one. It's got. I don't like it that much. It's okay for playing stuff on the computer when you need it, but I'd rather use like an original Xbox controller, or even a Xbox 360 wired controller for most things. The gamepad on this is really comfortable, but it's not very responsive. So, anyways, as you can see, it's got a D-pad. It's got 6 face buttons. It's got 2 shoulder buttons. It also has a throttle, which is interesting in that it's not a potentiometer. It's not something you slide or twist with a knob or anything. It's a digital one. So basically, you push up on it and it lights up one of the LEDs. You push it again, it lights up to the second one and the first one, and then all the way up to 4. So it has 4, 25%, 50, 75, 100% throttle. I might integrate that into the cabinet if I end up sticking with this controller, but I'm not sure yet. So the 6 face buttons, that I want 6 buttons for gameplay. Some people go with 4, some people go with 8, some people go with 2. It really depends on what games you're planning to go for. I'm going to go with 6 because that gives you a good variety of games possible. Pretty much everything in general. There might be some games where 8 buttons is useful, but I really don't know what they are, and I probably won't even play them. So I'm going to go for the 6 face buttons. The shoulder buttons, one of them will be used for insert coin, and the other one will be for one player, the start button. I've been considering doing a 2-player cabinet, but with this small of a screen, 17 inch isn't that small really, but as far as arcade cabinets go, that's pretty small. I was thinking of doing a 2-player cabinet, but I think for this one, I really don't want to spend too much money, and getting 2 sets of buttons and 2 joysticks, it might be a bit much. So, yeah. I'm also still deciding on whether I want um, buttons on the sides for pinball games. You know, so you have buttons on the side of the cabinet to push like you would on a pinball cabinet. If you're doing visual pinball or any pinball games, there are some really good ones these days. Now, I probably wouldn't be able to run some of the top of the line stuff like visual pinball on that computer. It's just not a very powerful computer. There's people that build like hexacore computers with dual video cards and stuff to run those properly. So, yeah, that's not going to happen on this thing, but it's not going to matter. It's a small little arcade machine, so it's not going to make much difference. But it would be good to have those for various pinball games that I might install. So the thing is, it's just going to cost more because more buttons is more money. My budget is very low at this point. So we'll see. We'll see. Anyways, I'll go back to what I had recorded earlier, so let's just cut back into that. As far as the cabinet itself, I don't have any specific plans. It's going to be wood. It's not going to be plastic. I mean, plastic would make it lighter and easier to move around, but yeah, I'm not gonna do that. It'll probably break easier too. I mean, this is something that you're going to be moving from a table to storage or wherever whenever you want to play it. You don't want it being something that can break. So wood, plywood probably. Yeah, I don't know if I'll be able to get that this month or not. Maybe. Wood's pretty cheap. I just bought some recently for a different project, and it was really cheap, depending on what kind of wood you get. If you're going for pine or poplar or something, it is super cheap, because that's like the crappiest wood, you know, but it's good for general construction projects. So, or I could go with MDF. I haven't decided. MDF has a higher chance of, carcinogens and stuff in it that you can inhale or swallow or get in your eyes. Plus, I have a dog. Yeah, I'm probably not going to go with MDF. That's, I think it stands for medium density fiberboard. It's really good stuff, but it's, like I said, it's kind of poisonous because they use this glue that's made from, I think it's like formaldehyde or something. And, it's really dense, and it's actually really good for projects like this, but I don't think I would want to use it. I don't know. We'll see. If it's significantly cheaper than just getting some plywood or something, then maybe I'll get it. But, yeah, I don't know yet. So, yeah, anyways, on the software front, I haven't really gotten that set up yet. I just got Windows installed today. I did get myself a set of ROMs, MAME ROMs, also full set of Super Nintendo, Genesis, original NES, Sega Master System, and I think that's all I'm going to go for. Maybe Game Boy Advance, maybe. I don't really want any of the too modern of systems. I mean, okay, the computer can't emulate the GameCube or the PS2. I mean, it could just barely, maybe a few games, but it's not worth it. But as far as PlayStation 2, or not PlayStation 2, I mean, original PlayStation and N64, I don't know if I even want them on there. I kind of want the more 2D sorts of games, unless they're arcade games. So, yeah. Anyways, I don't know if I'm going to keep this cabinet or sell it. I think it really depends on how well it turns out. If it turns out really well, I might end up selling it just so I can build another one, because the fun of these projects for me is the making of them. Sometimes after I make them, I don't really use them a whole lot. I'm just weird like that, but really depends on how it turns out. But it's for the fun of it, really. So, yeah. Anyways, that concludes this first vlog, or whatever you want to call it. I've already gone 15 minutes. Wow, I ramble a little too much. Anyways, until next time, goodbye.